Oh, that's lovely. You know, there's nowhere I like to come more in a lovely MG5 EV than some beautiful woodlands. I think this is fantastic. The MG5, it's a really important car because it's quite cheap, it's really usable, it has the same range as a Renault Zoe or a Nissan Leaf, but it's a lot cheaper and it's a lot bigger. Fantastic. So, and it's an estate car or a station wagon. And I just think it's about time we moved on from SUVs. So what I've asked Jack to do is to get his favourite estate car and bring it here. So we're going to meet here and we're going to have a little chat. And then we're going to do Swapsies and driving. So I'm just waiting for Jack now. Is that him now? That's not Jack. Is that Jack in the blue thing? But I said estate car. It's got it. Okay.
Morning, Bob.
Morning, Jack. It's got it.
What do you think of my estate car?
It's your estate car. Because when you drove in, I went, that is definitely not an estate car. Then I saw the back, and it is. I can see.
Very much so. This is the new one. This is the Taycan Cross Turismo, now with a bigger bottom and mild off-roading capabilities.
Well, you needed it to get down the track we came here, and that was
There's
a bit
some
of a shock.
craters on that road. Well, the thing is, there are roughly 2 electric estate cars in existence right now, so my hand was forced. This was my only option.
I suppose you're right. There isn't really anything else, because everything else is essentially, even if it's front-wheel drive city car, it looks a bit SUV-ish. It's high, all that.
They're also unnecessarily tall. This is quite a thing, though, isn't it? I mean, look at it.
It's stunning. It is stunning, because I always think, you know, I was walking through London the other day and I thought, I'm just not a car person. Why am I doing this show? I'm not a car person. And a Taycan drove past and I went, oh my God, that's beautiful. So I do appreciate that.
Will make you a car person. It's also converted a lot of petrol heads, I think. A lot of people have gotten into this thing and gone, oh, okay, actually, these electric cars are quite good. Because as well as being a practical 4-door family car that you can get dogs in, it's also got, you know, 750 horsepower. Go from 0 to 60 in less than 3 seconds. It's a crazy thing. It's the top-selling Porsche in the UK. It has been since it came out. What it's really doing is pulling people out of big V8 super saloons, BMW M5s, Mercedes E63s. Those are the people that I think that are turning to this car.
Right.
So it's doing the Lord's work.
It is really, and I think they're both really important cars of this year when they came out. So this one, you know, because it's.
We've got to talk about your MG.
Well, it is.
Sorry, I've been distracted by my big super Porsche. I actually have a big soft spot for this car.
Yeah, I think this is great. I'm not going to say cheap and cheerful because that's not fair. Because one, I don't think anything that's more than a fiver is not cheap.
Yeah.
So it's very reasonably priced. It's got the same range as like a Zoe or a Nissan Leaf. It's much bigger and it's much cheaper.
There is actually nothing that gives you as much mileage for the money. It doesn't exist. I think it's the best value electric car in the world right now.
Yeah.
Tell you what, I drove here in this. Should we have a little swapperoo, go for a drive?
We could do Swapsies.
Let's do it.
Swap keys.
Go on, the key's in there. Go crazy.
Brilliant.
Oh, it's in sport mode, don't worry. I know
my God.
That's the first thing you do. Maybe to adjust the seat a little bit.
I think I might have to as well.
Don't forget our great EV giveaway. Subscribe and enter for the chance to win one of several electrifying prizes, including one of 4 electric cars.
Let me just put my cards out on the table right from the get-go here and speak very plainly. I think that this is the best electric car in the world. I think it's the pinnacle of what is possible right now with electric power. And you may disagree, that's fine. You may think it's the Mercedes EQS or the Model S. You'd be wrong, but each to their own. And this one I have here, well, this just happens to be the fastest, most expensive Taycan of them all. And it's a good thing it's fast, because by the time you get done saying its name, you'll be slightly late for wherever you're trying to get to go. So welcome everyone to the Porsche Taycan Cross Turismo Turbo S. The beauty of this car, the thing it does that no other electric car does, is in the way that it feels. The tactility of the controls, the weight of this steering, no electric car can beat that. The way the brake pedal feels, that seems like a really menial thing. But somewhere along the travel of this brake pedal, the car is swapping from its regen brakes to its actual proper brakes. And I can't tell when, because it's so seamless. This is a big, heavy car, and I'm threading it along these narrow English country roads with real confidence. And it's not just because I'm an idiot, it's because it's a trustworthy car. No car as big and heavy as this has any right to feel this engaging to drive. It's just such a Porsche. God, it's just so rewarding to drive. Oh, also, it's an estate car. I remember now, that's the whole thing we're doing today, right? Estate cars, yeah. Oh, there's a lot of space in here. Seriously though, there is. You put the biblical performance to one side for a second. This is a very luxurious, very practical family car. You can get 2 actual humans in the back now because of the Cross Turismo with its higher roofline. You'd really struggle to do that in the regular Taycan. The boot is reasonably large. Mainly, it's just incredibly comfortable. The suspension on this thing is remarkable. For it to feel so supple when you're going over nasty, bumpy bits of road, but so stiff and flat when you're really throwing it about, is pure witchcraft. Do you know what? Super estate cars like this have always been my favourite kind of car, and I'll tell you why. One day, in the not too distant future, we won't own cars, we will rent them, and on any given day, you'll just rent the type of car that you need for that day. Going on a road trip, you'll rent a convertible sports car. Taking the kids to school, you'll rent a little narrow city car. But until that day comes, while we're all stuck with one car for all jobs, there is something so rewarding about a car that can just do everything. A car that is never caught with its pants down. And that is what a super estate like this gives you, whatever the circumstances. Track day, school run, moving house, cross-country road trip, whatever the circumstances, you are in the right car. Another thing I love about this being an estate instead of an SUV is I'm sat nice and low to the ground. That's a very Porsche thing. Your arse is practically scraping the floor in this car, and it just makes you feel so much more involved with the act of driving. Do you know what I really, really love about this car? It is living, moving proof of the fact that anything is possible with electric power. Before the Taycan came along, there were a lot of naysayers to going, oh, well, EVs will never be able to thrill or excite or engage you in the same way a petrol car can. And then this car came along and proved that all that was total bollocks. I used to think that. I used to worry that electric cars would never be able to excite me in the same way that petrol cars can. But since driving the Taycan, I have vowed to never ever doubt what electric power can and can't do. I think this car is living proof that we're just scratching the surface of what's possible with EV. And that's a very exciting thought. Oh, clear bit of road. Oh, let's go fast. Oh, what a car. What a car.
Well, this is a little bit ridiculous because I literally cannot touch the pedals with my feet. That's the position Jack has this seat in. It's as far back as the Porsche Taycan seat can possibly go. Now then, let's have a go, because I've just got to be reminded of how truly spectacular this car is.
Right, MG5. I miss my Porsche. Tell you what though, this unmade road that I'm just getting over now to get back onto the proper roads is seriously potholy. And it brings me nicely to the first thing I really like about this MG. It's properly comfortable. I mean, really actually comfortable. It's got nice big squashy tyres, nice big squashy suspension, and it's a nice comfortable car.
Just is mind-boggling. Now, of course, now I'm being reminded of how good this car is, because I have driven it a long way before. I mean, I've driven a Porsche Taycan probably 1,000 miles last year, and I've sort of forgotten what it's like. I mean, I've got to say, look, if something happened, if I won the lottery, if I sold the film rights to one of my books for millions of dollars, So, you know, I'm talking fantasy here. I would be sorely tempted to buy one of these. It's just such a beautiful machine. It's so beautifully made, and it's fascinating how well it's selling. So there's plenty of people who have sold the film rights to their book, obviously, because there's plenty of multi-millionaires who are buying these cars. There's a huge waiting list for them. They cannot make enough of them. And they're really popular, and they are, as I mentioned with Jack, you know, they are outselling Porsche combustion cars in this country. Nobody wants to buy the combustion cars. The noisy old rattly things with a noisy, smelly old engine that you have to keep putting more and more petrol or gasoline into them, and they burn it all up, and then you've got to put more in. You've got to stand and wait by a petrol pump in the cold and hold the thing in for ages, you know, like 3 or 4 minutes. I mean, it takes me 5 seconds to plug the car in, and I go away and do something more interesting. What a ridiculous system. I only do that just to get some comments.
I already have a pretty clear idea of what I think about this car. I've spent some time in one before, and it's an impressive thing. It's comfortable, it's spacious, it's got a steering wheel, and there's not that much to talk about, really. It's an economy car, and that's okay. I think that there is a joy to a machine that just does the thing that it was designed to do very well and nothing else. This is a no frills automobile. It's roomy, it's got range, and that's your lot, really. But I'm absolutely fine with that. We need more electric cars like that. You must remember, at all times, this is a £25,000 EV. £25,000. Still not cheap, but cheaper than almost everything else that's out there. Almost everything else. The closest competitors to this car are probably the Renault Zoe and the Peugeot E208, both of which are slightly more expensive, both of which have slightly less range, both of which have way less space. The Nissan Leaf, the entry-level Nissan Leaf, that's another £5,000 on top of this car, and it's got less range. Basically, if you've got 3 kids and you're looking to do electric motoring on the cheap, your options are one of these or sell one of your kids. As far as value for money goes, this is quite simply the best value EV in the world right now. It just is. And you know what? It's not all economy cheapo in here. They've tried. They have. They've tried. I like the leathery bits on the dash, and I like these sort of silvery buttons. It comes with a touch screen, an Android Auto and Apple CarPlay as standard. It looks really quite premium. Of course, as soon as you touch some of these buttons, you realise that they're actually quite cheap and nasty, but hey, it's just a very simple, relaxing car to drive. It really is comfortable. It's amazing what you can do with a nice squashy set of tyres. People get so hung up on low profile tyres, big rims, but you get a big set of squashy boys on like this lot. It's just so much more relaxing.
So there is one side of this, a machine like this, that is slightly bonkers. And that is, you know, what do you use a car for? You use a car to get yourself and possibly stuff and possibly other people from one place to another. That's what it's for. And then over the last 100 years, we've refined this whole thing about the experience of doing that. And that's what this car takes to a level that is almost indescribable. It's such an amazingly high level of achievement in terms of its technical capability, but all it does is move you from one point to another. You could argue, I think very successfully, that it's kind of unnecessary to have a car that can do around about 100 miles an hour faster than you're legally allowed to drive, and can accelerate at a ridiculous pace, and you know, you can, so all that stuff is, you know, it is kind of pointless. I know that there's going to be a lot of people who appreciate a performance vehicle, and I understand it, I get it, but if you were to own this car and you had it for a long time, I mean, you basically use it at this sort of speed. I'm driving along a, you know, fairly busy inter-rural, semi-urban, suburban road. You know, you're not doing, I can't do 140 miles an hour. So the only place I really do want to drive one of these is in Germany on the Autobahn.
Right, let's do a handling test, shall we? I've got a nice sharp corner coming up here. I'm going to send it a little bit too hard, see what happens. So here we go, into the corner, a bit too quick. Harder starboard, lots of lock. Oh, ooh, that was very unpleasant. For handling, let's just put no, I think. I love that Taycan, I love it. I would kill a lot of people to have one. People I like, people close to me. And I maintain that that car is doing important work at the posh end of the price spectrum. It's pulling people out of twin-turbo V8 BMW M5s and Marquis 63s. It's doing its bit. It's an important car. But this is where the battle is really going to be won or lost. These are the cars that we desperately need more of in order to make this whole electric thing happen faster. Ones that normal people can afford and that have enough range to be their one and only car. And right now this thing is in a category of one. Tell you what, it's quite good, that thing.
It's good, isn't it? When you drove in, because I was thinking, I mean, my heart rate has just managed to reach, like, not dangerous for a man my age from after driving that. I mean, it is a terrifying beast, but it is an experience you don't forget. No one's going to say to me tomorrow, what were you doing yesterday? I drove some blue car. No.
I drove a Taycan Turbo.
I drove a Taycan
It's
Turbo.
special. It's really special. But this
Yeah.
thing, do I love it? No. Do I crave it? No. But I respect it,
Yeah.
and we need more like it.
Yeah.
I think this car is a bit of a warning shot to the Western car makers that if they don't hurry up and start making some cheap stuff soon,
Yeah.
the Chinese are going to come over and wipe the floor with them.
Absolutely, and it's becoming, because I first sort of came up with this notion thinking I was a brilliant genius with foresight. Not at all, because I was reading all these, and now so many like really proper grown-up, internationally, clever people are saying to the Western automotive industry, guys, the Chinese are coming. Look, I mean, for the reports from the Shanghai Motor Show that Elliot did, I mean, the amount of electric cars coming from there.
And they cost like 20p. It's infuriating. It's not fair.
Anyway, I want my car back.
Yes,
you can
please
have your
give me
car
my
back.
blue Porsche back. Thank you. Kindly.
Thank you very
That's
much.
for you.
I will sit over here.
Lovely.
But that's really all we've got time for. I want to just quickly say about Patreon. We couldn't do these shows without the amazing support from Patreon. It's really, really important. Thank you so much for that. I should read out a load of Patreon names. I will on the next show. But thank you very much for supporting Patreon. And the links about Patreon, of course, in the description beneath this video.
And while you're at it, please do make sure to like and subscribe and leave a comment down below to let us know which of these two cars you think is more important. Not which one you want, because, Porsche.
That is a very good point. It's which one is the most important to the big picture
for the cause
of global automobile transition.
Big top
stuff. Yeah.
Stuff, important electric world stuff.
But after a very windy day driving around and standing around, I think my verbosity is about to fall off a cliff. So I think it's time to say, as always, if you have been,
thank you for watching.